Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
For those who don't recognise me from Spirit and Speed, my name is Claire Seymour. I'm very proud to be the CEO of our RIC. So excited to see so many of you here this morning. So pleased to see you, Emma, and thrilled that Flying Stairs have kindly taken up the challenge to become our first guest speaker at our first Fireside Chat. Some people have said, but there's no fireplaces in the conservatory. There is in the front building for those who've had a full building tour. This is the first of, we hope, very many. Having seen so many members here this morning, someone's already asked me, what are you going to do if there's more than 60? So if it's in the summer, we'll be in the garden or maybe down in the Arctic tundra of the bathing suite. So without further ado, I'd like to thank you again. It's so exciting to see members here, to create the opportunity that you yourselves get to know one another more, and you talk about your passion and enthusiasm for, in my opinion, the two best marks in the world. I hope you enjoy the morning, and please, we look forward to seeing you again in February. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you to the team at the RIC for the invite to come and talk to you this morning about our business, Flying Spares. Forgive me for reading off the sheet, I've got quite a lot to get through, so I didn't want to miss things out. A couple of introductions. My name's Neil Arman. I'm one of the directors of Flying Spares, and I'm joined this morning by Duncan, Charleston, who is our head of operations, and Marco at the back, who heads up our marketing department. I've been with Flying Spares nearly 20 years. Duncan's nearly 24 next month. So between us, we should hopefully be able to give you a really good overview of what we do. And at the end, Duncan will be very happy to answer any questions you've got.
Or try to.
I'm going to assume that at least some of you are already familiar with who we are and what we do. Hoping that this morning will give you a bit of an insight into some developments that you may not be aware of, as well as sharing some exciting plans that we have for the future. One thing we found from meeting enthusiasts over the years is that different people have very different perceptions about what the core of our business is. We meet people who think all we do is break, recycle cars, and basically a scrapyard or a graveyard for Rolls and Bentleys. Others who have no idea we've got an in-house team rebuilding and reconditioning parts, and others who have no idea that we do anything but supply new parts. So, what are the main parts of our business? First of all, supplying the full range of genuine OEM aftermarket parts for all post-war Rolls and Bentley cars. This includes acquiring Crewe and Goodwood parts direct from franchise dealers within the networks, sourcing OEM parts from suppliers who make the parts for Rolls and Bentley. That's an increasing part of our business. It's effectively the same part but in a different box. Sourcing and remanufacturing parts that have been made no longer available to keep the cars on the road. And we currently manufacture around 1,300 products, and that number grows each and every year. A good example of that is the RR363 hydraulic brake fluid, which we had manufactured by the UK's leading brake fluid supplier when Castrol decided to halt production in 2018. It took us 18 months development, and it's based on the original Castrol formulation. The PHC, which is the company that we use to bring it to market, is an exact replacement for the discontinued product. Recycled parts. We buy cars that are deemed beyond economical repair by their owners. Some are badly damaged in crashes or fires, some simply neglected. Each car undergoes an extensive test process on arrival to ascertain what still works, what doesn't, and this report will usually dictate the vehicle's fate. Some of the cars that arrive with us are in a really truly sorry state, and our website lists each car that we have in, which I'll cover more detail shortly. We always keep them running and on the road if we can, and many are subsequently resold as restoration projects. When your business model centres on the supply of parts for Rolls and Bentley cars, it makes sense for us to keep as many on the road as possible. We are a registered end-of-life vehicle dismantler, ensuring that all cars are broken in an environmentally compliant way and everything is disposed of in the correct way. However, when a car does sadly meet the end of its days, we preserve as much as we can. Currently, around 95% of the parts we strip are recycled. Each part is assessed and then either cleaned and prepared for sale or sent for reconditioning. By doing so, they contribute to the availability of spare parts, and in a lot of cases, rare parts for other vehicles, allowing owners to maintain and repair their cars. And this approach not only promotes environmental responsibility and supports the longevity and preservation of these historic cars. 4 cars that we purchased for dismantling have been retained as our test fleet, cars that were too good to break and that have been given a little bit of love to keep them roadworthy. We now use them to test new components that we bring to market. Reconditioning. Flying spares reconditioned parts are recovered genuine or OEM parts that have been thoroughly serviced and repaired either by our in-house technical services division, TSD, or sent externally to an approved specialist reconditioner. We believe that these components are at least as good as the original and sometimes better as designs and technology improve over time. Hydraulic components, such as brake pumps, for example, go through a comprehensive 7-stage process to take them up to TSD reconditioned quality. Main benefits are cost, sustainability, and the preservation of original engineering. We're so confident in our procedures that our flying spares reconditioned parts come with the same 3-year warranty as our OEM and aftermarket parts. So, before we move on to future plans, I just want to give you a brief potted history of flying spares. Formed in 1995 by husband and wife Ben and Lucy Hanford. Some of you may know Ben, remember Ben. Initially working out of a small porter cabin in a transport yard, the company was formed with a specific aim of supplying spare parts for all post-war models of Rolls and Bentley motor vehicles. Ben's mission statement at the time was to supply realistically priced parts promptly without compromising quality. And as the business has grown over the last 29 years, it's a commitment that we've never wavered from. We brought some brochures along, some on this table and some bags, for anyone who'd like a more detailed overview of how the company has grown, but suffice to say that during those early years, the business developed and grew steadily. In 1997, the porter cabin we worked from was upgraded to a 250 square metre shed with an office at a nearby quarry, before relocating again in 1999 to the industrial estate in Market Bosworth, where we are based to this day. Market Bosworth, for any keen historians amongst you, the location of the last significant battle, the War of the Roses in 1485, where Richard III met his untimely end, if you believe. In 2003, we purchased our current premises, Rossendale House, and at that point we could never foresee running out of space. The offices were enormous, the warehouse had more space than we could ever hope to fill. In 2006, we were growing really fast. We acquired the entire stock of one of our competitors, Montague & Co. Anybody remember those? We purchased 2 40-foot containers from Kellogg Faulkner in Australia, and all of the stock from a number of Bentley dealers that had lost their franchise. Picked up some real gems, but also a lot of obscure parts that were definitely not fast moving. Before we knew it, the team had doubled, and the site that we could never dream of filling was full. The unit on the same industrial estate opposite us became available, so we snapped it up and moved in, filled it with stock. Then the unit next door that we had vacated 10 years previously became available, so we snapped that up too and converted it into a unit dedicated to our recycling operation. When Bentley decided in 2017 that they were going to cull most of the body panels from a lot of the earlier cars in the Park Ward range, wings, doors, boots, body panels, we took the plunge and invested and took a further unit on off-site to house this stock. This is all part of our commitment to owners and enthusiasts using the knowledge and experience within our team, knowing that one day somebody, somewhere will need these parts, rather than allowing them just to be thrown into a skip at Bentley because somebody with a spreadsheet at head office had decided that they were too slow moving and not for any vehicles that were any longer part of their plans. On Bentley, we've found that they're always quite happy to use the prestige of the classic Rolls and Bentley range to market the newer cars, but they haven't always been brilliant at supporting owners of what we term the heritage vehicles, so from Mark 6 right up to Arnage, anything pre-first generation GT. And we like to think we plugged that gap. We've tried to engage with the Bentley hierarchy on multiple occasions and to work more closely with them. If they make the business decision to cease production of a particular part, as is their right, we'd always begin to reproduce it to the original specification from their drawings. And when key components are no longer available, it can have a significant impact on the ability of owners to get their cars up and running quickly. However, due to the fairly rigid corporate structure of Bentley in its current state, we've had doors closed in our face at every turn, but we will and we are persevering. So we think we've built up what we believe to be an unrivaled stock of rare, hard to find parts alongside everyday service items as well as core units ready for refurbishment. And we've got 200 engines alone ready for rebuild. The knock-on effect of this rapid growth was that we were now operating from 6 units across multiple sites and employing in excess of 50 people. As the owners of Flying Spares, Ben and Lucy were very big on ensuring that customer service was central to everything we do, making sure that we provided the best possible service. As the team grew, they began to devolve responsibilities and take a step back from the business. And after 25 years at the helm, they began to look for an exit strategy, safe in the knowledge that the team of dedicated people that they had built would leave Flying Spares and the customer base in safe hands. For context, we've got over 400 years combined service across our current team, plus many more previous years Rolls and Bentley experience in Bentley factories, dealers and workshops. Selling the business probably seemed the most straightforward option for them, but they were aware that this might well result in the relocation and restructuring of Flying Spares and would almost certainly jeopardise the future of the staff. A key priority there was to avoid changes that might compromise the quality of the parts or the service that they were so proud to offer. So, in February 2020, just prior to the first COVID lockdown, Flying Spares became employee-owned, with a trust buying the company's shares and ensuring it would be run in perpetuity solely for the benefit of the employees. The most famous employee-owned model is probably John Lewis or Richer Sounds. Ours is very similar to that model. What does that mean in practice? Ben and Lucy have stepped away. We have a senior management team that make the day-to-day decisions, but the success of the company is shared amongst everybody that works at Flying Spares. And we believe that by sharing this success with all of our colleagues, that there is a vested interest to keep standards high, customers happy and keep the business moving forward. And although this transition has not been without its challenges, we've found that everyone is more than happy to go that extra mile. We're still in regular contact with the founders, Ben and Lucy. They're still involved as a sounding board and very happy to offer advice to us as and when we need it. So that kind of brings us up to date. What's next for Flying Spares? I mentioned earlier that we're operating across 6 units, which brings its own challenges and inefficiencies. So we began the owner's quest to find a suitable home where we could house every hose, nut, bolt, washer, panel, and all of our different teams under one roof. In spring 2023, we found Mary Lees, a relatively short 4.9 mile drive from our current base, near enough to ensure that the daily commute to a new location would not lead to a mass exodus of the key members of our team. It's currently undergoing an extensive fit out to make it perfect for our needs and to satisfy the needs of the Environmental Agency to grant our end of life vehicle permit. The footprint of the site will be over 5,000 square metres, an increase of around 2,000 square metres that we currently occupy across all of our sites. And this additional capacity will allow us to bring all of our parts storage under one roof and allow for future growth. We will expand the TSD and recycling operations, we'll double the number of ramps. This will give them much needed room and equipment to meet the increasing demand. We're really excited about this next chapter. It will give us an opportunity to expand what we do in areas that are currently severely restricted by space. We are also looking to create a prestigious customer area, a Rolls Royce and Bentley museum cum library in the new reception area, utilising an extensive memorabilia collection we acquired from Stuart Dennison prior to his passing in 2018. This has not even been unpacked and has been in safe storage since we acquired it. John Creasy, some of you may know John Creasy, he's had a little poke around in there and assures me there's some beautiful and rare pieces that need to be carefully preserved, so we're looking forward to getting that on display. When the unit is ready, in summer 2024, we've moved in, we'll be extending a formal invitation to the RREC and all of its members to come and visit us for a tour. We'll have some demonstrations, maybe recycling, reconditioning, tour of the stores, and we really hope that some of you will come and visit us. I mentioned earlier on our technical services department. This is the in-house reconditioning department. So in a quest to raise and maintain the standards of reconditioned parts, we've started to increase the range of components that we rebuild in-house. We found that when certain units are sent away to a third party, we could never always be fully confident how extensive the rebuild and testing had been. And by supplying them to customers under the Flying Spares name, it reflected poorly on us if there was ever a warranty issue. By doing them in-house, we can look to fine-tune the processes and ensure that the parts meet the standards that we set, including full rig testing prior to dispatch. In addition to the full range of hydraulic units, leaf springs, axles, drive shafts that we have worked on for a number of years, we've recently employed a dedicated auto electrician and now overhaul alternators, starter motors, wiper motors and window motors, as well as testing electrical components from our recycled cars. For example, alternators and starter motors are fully cleaned through a 4-stage wash. Overhaul kits are used to replace parts. For example, diodes, regulators, rectifiers, bearings. Then each unit is tested for its performance on our output on our in-house test rig. Once passed, a test report will be provided with each unit. And this is not something we were offered by any third party that we had dealt with. This gives us the confidence that the unit has been comprehensively overhauled, and the customer the confidence that we have sanity checked the work that we have done prior to dispatch. Another product that we've recently brought in-house is steering racks for Shadow 2s, Spirits and the Bentley derivatives. We invested heavily in the research and development to get this right. We'd had feedback on the externally reconditioned racks that they were prone to leaking, and if they weren't leaking then there was an issue with the feel of the rack, either overly stiff or too light and not feeling like a Rolls Royce should. Without getting overly technical, because it's not my fault, we've identified why the issues were occurring and made some subtle changes to the build process. And as of today, we've had no warranty issues or complaints. And we've been invited down to P&A Wood at the end of this month, just to show them what we're now doing. When we move and are settled into our new premises, we're looking to expand the range into engines, gearboxes, and much, much more. 2023, we reached an agreement to produce Lucas and Girling parts for Rolls-Royce and Bentley motor cars under licence. And there is a shining, lovely brochure for anybody who would like to know more. I won't go into detail. It's all in that brochure if anybody's interested. Our website. We're very proud of our website. We've spent many hours over the last 10 years building up the catalogues for each model and era of car, trying to create a useful resource to help owners and enthusiasts locate the parts that they need. We've included as much information as we can: parts super sessions, exploded diagrams, available alternatives, stock availability. But it isn't just an e-commerce shop. One of the most popular sections of the site is the cars that we have in for resale or break-in. And each car has a little backstory on how it's ended up with us. This is a particular fine example. It's the second time we had this car in. Not one for the purists. It was purchased last summer. It was purchased as a donor car for another project. The customer removed everything that was required and then basically returned it to us. I think, as it said, the car you choose to drive can make a statement about you, and this one certainly does. The theme appears to be change. It says changing French on one side and German on the other. There's a UK flag, the EU stars, a shamrock, and a goldfish about to be shot by a coyote wearing a top hat. I don't know. Pardon?
What about the thistle?
A thistle.
Wow.
Ooh.
Can't see. Oh. No. When I said earlier on, some arrive in a really sorry state, this is a pretty good example. The term barn find is particularly popular at the moment. This one started life abroad in 1975. It was repatriated to the UK in 1979. At some point it was parked in a barn, uncovered. Yes, before it was extracted. And as you can see, it's not looking too clever. I believe the green, I don't believe it's actually a green car, I think that's probably moss. But believe it or not, there are quite a lot of parts in there that can be salvaged. Okay. So aside from the recycled cars and the e-commerce, there's loads of free technical information to download, blog posts to read, news articles, buying guides, details on new to range products, and the ability to contact us directly with any inquiries. Peter Hepworth Components. So Peter Hepworth Components was a company specialising in the manufacture and supply of chassis and internal combustion engine components to the automotive, marine and rail industries, as well as the MOD. Peter supplied parts such as pistons, liners and engine bearings directly into Bentley for the Cloud, Shadow and Spirit model ranges. In 2018, we purchased the Rolls-Royce and Bentley side of his business, and this gave us access to all of the parts mentioned above, as well as many more, and crucially the supply base that manufactured these parts for Bentley on his behalf. We set up a separate company, PH Components, to handle these transactions, and this maintains an ISO 9001 certification. So as well as supplying the pistons and liners and bearings exclusive to flying spares, we also pass all safety critical parts through PHC, ensuring that the quality checking of these parts is extensively documented. And finally, did you know that we offer a discount on all parts to RREC members? So if you do buy any parts from us, be sure to let us know your RREC membership number. We'll set you up on our internal system so that any parts you purchase are automatically discounted. This can also be applied to your online account. So when you log on to the internet, you'll see the retail price and the price that you will pay. And so if that's something that you're not currently taking advantage of and you'd like to, just let us know and we'll get you set up. I feel like I've rushed through it, but thank you for your time. Does anybody have any questions?
Neil, hi. My name is Emma. I'm from RH Insurance.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. A lot of our clients are buying Bentley Enages at the moment, and usage tends to be in line with sort of classic status, which is really, really good. But a lot of our clients say that they're finding it increasingly hard to source spare parts for the Enage. Can you give us some insight perhaps onto current availability and projected availability on the Enage?
I mean, I would say that Arnage is probably one of the most under-supported models by Bentley, with a lot of parts becoming no longer available. We've currently got an Arnage in, I believe it's a red label for assessment as to whether it's a reseller or a dismantler.
Okay.
So we do dismantle the cars and we do repair the parts. So I think the parts are out there, but you might not be able to get a new one. You might have to go for a used or, definitely aftermarket parts. I think one of the bits that we were speaking about earlier was the Arnage sunroof, which always rusts, and then you have a rain shower in your car as you're driving along. That's something that we're looking at producing, because if your roof leaks, then that's just going to ruin your car. So again, internally we're trying to identify parts with feedback from the sales team via customers about what parts we need to be sourcing or manufacturing. It's easy to look at data of parts you're selling and go, well, we're selling those, so let's look for an alternative and we'll offer a cheaper alternative to our customer base. What's harder to get is the information. This part isn't available and we need to be looking at it. And that's what we're trying to get the sales team more proactive and recording data of lost sales and lost sales for used parts to try and highlight the parts and look to produce them.
It's really good to know, thank you.
I mean, we find that when the parts are available from Crew, it's fine. It's when they run out and then they say, oh, actually, we're not going to make any more of these.
Yes.
At that point, you haven't got a sample, you haven't got anything to work from. They won't supply you with the drawings. So that's what we've been trying to do for a lot of these parts. You know, the RREC are a sort of invaluable source of drawings for older cars,
Sure.
but Bentley are not overly forthcoming with. Really, we'd happily buy drawings or make things to the original spec where there's a demand. But
I mean, when we look to produce a part, we automatically come to the RREC and I'll speak to Alan in archives and request a drawing, because if you want to get it right, you have to go from the drawings. Otherwise, you have to reverse engineer, and potentially there could be errors. So, what we found is that the Rolls-Royce enthusiast club has only got drawings pre-1987. Anything 1987 onwards, there's no drawings.
Right.
So any parts that are for models after that, you can only reverse engineer. And we have reverse engineered and we have got it right, but we have got occasions where it's gone wrong, when the drawing would have spelled out all the information we need and we could have got it right first time.
Okay. And do Bentley actually hold those drawings? Are they just sort of holding on to them?
I believe so.
Right.
I know Ben was speaking to Bentley on numerous occasions to try and get them to release them somehow, free, paid, the RREC, and at one point they seemed to be on the brink of doing something, but then they said, well, we've got to go to the legal team and we've got to make this available to the dealerships, and it just fell flat, unfortunately. We will keep trying because we need those drawings to produce quality parts.
The irony of it is that we supply parts to Bentley workshops to fix their cars, because they've made the parts then allowed that they can't fix unless they buy the parts from us. We'll keep trying, but we're not overly hopeful.
No.
In its current form, shall we say.
Any more questions?
Sorry, no.
Okay. I just had a very quick one. Your barn find, Rolls-Royce, you said there'd be quite a few parts within that car that you could reuse or do something with. I'm really interested to know what, because to me it looked like everything was beyond.
I think that car was a shallow one that was on there, so for that car in particular we would probably retain the engine, alternator, starter motor, brake pumps, accumulator spheres, valve bodies, hubs, rear hubs. I can go on.
The cleaners that we've got, the sort of ultrasonic cleaners and things that we've got, you'd be amazed that you put the part in when it comes out, it's unrecognisable.
We've dismantled a car like that before, and the footprint of a car, once you keep the parts that are retained, it's not particularly big when you have the engine, the parts around it in a pile. Well, not in a pile, but in a chunk of a pile. The body shell is the main part, but the parts you retain is probably half the size.
We wouldn't retain the interior,
no,
unless somebody wants an interior that's covered in mould and moss. Never know.
Complete their barn find.
Yes, if you want an
You'd be amazed at the state that some of them get into. It's incredible.
Do you get things like windows?
Yeah. Again, over time the windows can delaminate with age, but if we try and retain as much as possible, at least a couple of each if we can, if we've got the space and if there's demand. But delamination is an issue with glass.
Can I ask one more query? Because I had a 1990s Marcos, and the one thing I really couldn't obtain for it were replacement window rubbers. Is that something that you manufacture for Bentleys and Rolls-Royces, or?
Yeah, there's a lot of seals that we produce.
Seals, yeah.
We don't necessarily produce everything. We sometimes buy things in. So the Silver Spirit and Bentley derivatives, the door seals were on back order for a long time. They're now produced, and we stock and supply those. The rear door seals for the standard wheelbase and normal wheelbase, we've produced those for many years. And again, some of the seals are easier to produce than you think, especially if they're a long strip. But the door seals are a bit more difficult when you have shapes and curves. And but standard run-of-the-lamp seals are quite easy to produce.
I should probably have come to you.
My question about spares is following on from a conversation with Stephen Murray on the board's reception. He was here yesterday. We were fortunate enough to welcome Georgina Wood from P&A Wood here at us yesterday, which was a super day. And her knowledge was phenomenal because she would point at the car, oh, I know that car. And we talked yesterday, Stephen and I, about spares because at the annual rally we went to for the first time, I personally oversaw the member spares tent, and I learned a great deal about spares on that weekend, because we talked about it yesterday. It was the place to be on the annual rally field. every time it rained, there were people coming to see us. There were people who came in every hour across the whole weekend, just in case something else was there. And there was lots of people, heads down, rattling away. And I was joking with Stephen yesterday, when you yourself found a catch at the Members' Fairs 2022. So when I saw that you offer a discount to the club members, that's the first time I knew about that. So I think it's really important we educate our members about where we can help you find your membership number. And secondly, in terms of how much work you do with our club, now I've learned a bit more about the importance of spares. Do you get one inquiry a month from our club members, or is it 10 a month? Is it something we can help you with to promote more?
I was speaking to, is it Lisa?
Yes, Lisa, the rest of the Hunt House team are going to come down.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I did suggest that we could potentially send out your membership application form leaflets with our orders. We've got the capability of, you know, every customer that places an order gets a RREC membership leaflet, so that's something we can look at for you.
Thank you.
I know since Marco's come in the last couple of years for marketing, we're looking into information a lot more than we have done in the past. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, so
Sure.
working on the website to create a separate members area for the RREC. So it's, I mean, at the moment it's quite clunky to get around, so it's just want to make it really simple.
Sure.
When, for example, I did some data analysis and we've got 7,000 members, is it? We've registered 262. So
That's where we recorded,
No,
where we recorded the number.
yeah,
But I would guess we deal with a
we
lot
must probably
more,
deal with a
but
lot.
we don't.
Yes.
We would
yes.
just, yeah.
And for me, I mean, roughly the discount works out about 10%. So if you were to spend £1,000 on your car, that's £100 discount. That's your membership pay for. That's how I look at it.
When we say roughly, it
Yeah.
does vary. You know, it will go
Depending on
down,
the product,
but it will go up as well.
But, yeah, the basket works out about
Yeah.
10%.
And certainly what I've learned, particularly probably crystallised at Members' Fairs annual 22, which is clearly a story I'll take to the grave with me. Just the significance of the need to reinvest and repair heritage vehicles, whether it's Bentley or Rolls-Royce, because we know that car owners can't go to Halfords to purchase this very specialist product and product information, and it's taught me how fortunate the club is that at least we have the records up until, I think you said 1987, but I'm very proud of the club and the information that we hold and how that can help all of our members and the connected businesses to continue to ensure that the heritage of these beautiful vehicles is invested in and supported so that we can keep these cars on the road.
And that's one thing that John Creasy and a few of these sort of older heads at Client Spares were always adamant about, that when crew were looking to basically throw large amounts of stock in the bin, that we went and bought it. And he says, you won't sell it tomorrow, you might not sell it next week, you might not sell it next year, but one day somebody will need that part.
Yes.
And if you want to be the go-to place for the parts for these cars, you need to have it on the shelf. Don't let it just go in the skip.
Yes.
So that's why we need to take on a bigger unit, bigger place, because we are storing a lot of stock that is slow moving, but we see that we have no choice but to sit on it until somebody does want it.
From this, there seems to be, I'm sure, an open day at Flying Spares.
No, when we moved in, that's
Once we
When-
moved in,
yeah,
settled,
because at the moment our current site, as I explained, is we moved into one building. We're now spread across 6 units. It's not ideal. It doesn't look great, but this new place, we'll be really proud of it. It'll be perfect. And we'll be able to. People will be able to come in, walk around the stores, go and see what the dismantlers do, watch some demos of the reconditioning processes. Hopefully we'll have the memorabilia up in the reception area by then, you know, and actually have just a good tour.
Yes.
And we'll actually be able to stand proudly in front of the building rather than sort of almost apologetically ushering people around and say, don't look that way. That's a bit of a tip. But no, we'll definitely, that's one thing that we're definitely going to do is invite
Us.
Yeah.
All of us here today.
I mean, preferably not 7,000 people in one.
I mean, the invitation is there for anyone to pop in if they're passing.
Yeah.
Just at the moment, we can't facilitate large groups because we're in the process of readying for the move. But if anyone is passing and they want to pop in, I have my speech down to a T to show people where to come. So I'll gladly do it.
Just following on from what was being said there by Claire, as we were talking about, it was the challenge I have with an earlier post-war car is that small little coach-built stuff and things you just can't get. So unless you're breaking one. So it would be great, I wanted to understand as well, it's like, can we somehow get on your database, like you know what cars we have, so you can email us and get, I have a silver break, you get one in your break, I just want to know that. So, things like that.
Yes.
I think it's
Yes.
something that we're possibly. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to build up a profile of all the customers, and part of it will be cars you drive. So at the moment, I'm just working with our e-commerce team.
And then the
to
second
capture
part
all
is,
that information.
I don't know what I want, but if you're breaking one, it's like I would be
Yeah.
definitely interested to know what you had, I could get some bits. But the other bit, she was saying that I did find something that was a little tiny patch I was desperately excited to find. But it's like, what about, nowadays it's getting more affordable and cheaper to do, but like a 3D scanner to sort of reproduce things on one-off spots maybe for small bits and things.
Yeah, it's not something we've got into yet directly on premises, but we have the
thought about
ability
that,
to.
is that something you think?
Yeah, I mean that is the future stage. At the moment, we have 3D scanning we can do through third party and production, and we have had parts produced like that. I think the future is to bring some parts inside the house and do it.
It's so nice because these little one-offs, it used to be desperately expensive, but it's getting more
Yeah.
affordable and doable now for the
Yeah.
small one-offs.
Yeah, we've done it with it's a newer car, but a Bentley Continental GTC. The hood has quite a nice alley bracket as part of it, which you can't actually get from Bentley. So if your hood breaks or that bracket breaks, I think the hood from Bentley is about £17,000. But we do a pair of these brackets as a replacement, so that was scanned and produced 3D printed in metal. So yes. Including the VAT.
Discount as well, then that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Can I ask a question? You're talking about the roof on the GTC. When I had my car serviced last year, the guy that was doing it told me that the wires in the roof stretch.
Okay.
If they do stretch and they break, it destroys the roof.
Okay.
So you were talking about the restoration. Are you able to do that work? You replace those cables? Because I won't mind doing it before they become a problem.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the cables at the moment, to be honest. Maybe that's something that over time is obviously it's wear and tear and it's becoming more common. I'm not actually in sales myself. I'm more focused on the production and manufacture, so of that sort of thing. But that's driven by feedback from the sales team. So it's something that I can speak to the sales team about and see they're getting calls for it.
The specialist that looks after my car has put me in touch with a company in Leicester.
Okay.
And they have quoted, it's £1,200 to have those cables.
Okay.
The Curtis.
So I intend to have mine done when the weather improves, because I don't use my car in the winter.
No. I know that the cables are available for Azure models, sort of Masterline Corniche, so they are available for other models.
Is it Bentley Solutions? Gone to Leicester. Curtis.
Yeah.
Curtis Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that's who I would point you towards.
Yeah, and he's really good on,
Yeah.
on the newer car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good on the electric side. Yeah. I think you're in safe hands.
Any more questions? No?
Are you going to be at the annual rally 24?
Yes.
We've been announced as attending. Yeah, so
You might be so busy with your new unit, you might not.
We'll make the time.
yeah. I mean, I know there's a lot of speculation as to why we didn't attend last year, but the main reason for us is why we did not attend is we did and ah about going. In the end, we decided to go, and we contacted 12 marquee companies, and we couldn't find a marquee. We really struggled with marquees, and I suppose it was Neil was saying to someone earlier, the backlog of shows from COVID meant that there was a lot of rescheduled shows. The demand for marquees was through the roof. Yeah, I think 12 companies were trying in the end and could not get one for another month. And that was the actual reason in the end for us not attending. But this year, yeah, I mean, we are doing it on a much smaller scale than we've done in previous years. I mean, when I first started doing it at Calmarsh and other places, we would empty the stores with trays of parts, but the work involved in preparing for such a show is quite a lot. It would take us 2 weeks to prepare and unpack when we get back. And with everything we've got going on, it is a lot of work. But we should be.
The trouble we have is that we take a lot of stock, we put it all out, we display it, but we probably don't sell that much while we're there. And the costs of going there, displaying the stock, packing it back on the lorry, getting it back into the stores at the other end. Since the internet's taken off, a lot of people will come in, say hello, have a drink, and they'll say, I need some of them, but I'll order them when I get home. So
we don't underestimate that personal connection, Sway.
well, that's the last time
I swear by to come and see you to talk about the things I need, and then I do go back and order it. But we do follow up.
And we said after we went to the 2022 that it was more of a meet and greet, and it was more about speaking to people. We probably could have gone and took no stock and just been at the tent, but then people want to pick things up. Look, you want to show people what you do. So it's finding that balance between not completely derailing the operation we've got back at base, because people are still ordering things, and also giving a good showcase of what we do.
The amount of times in the past we've packed up ready for the show and someone's gone, I've sold this, where is it? It's in the show stuff. Which box? Not sure. Okay, right, can we go and find it? And you run back in, ready to get that customer out of trouble.
But what the most popular thing from shows in recent years is we take the things that we think we would sell or people want to see, but we get some people that come in and go, can you get or have you got? And then we look on the computer in the tent and we go, yes, we have. So we actually started to do 2 or 3. We'd have people at base, and then they'd come over at 3 or 4 o'clock in the aftoon with a van full of parts that people have ordered.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's kind of the way we're going. Is have
Should to be after, have you got it? Can we talk about it? Like my chroning earlier, I was talking about do you do chrome version? Just have that conversation when you're there, it's really valuable.
But I think after last year's show, and I think we've spoken to the REC, discussed why we went there, and we're sort of making sure that we find a solution that suits us all, because we had so many phone calls from people afterwards saying, oh, I can't believe you weren't there. And then they were disappointed to find us not there. So yeah, we'll be there one way or another in some capacity.
That's a fantastic question, Andrew. And I was hoping we would have a couple of minutes to talk about Annual Rally. I'm conscious that the Hunt House team are on their way down, so it's really important that you put names to faces, and we have had some changes here at Hunt House. I'm also, in terms of what I'm about to discuss about the Annual Rally, I don't want to take copy from, information you will read again in February 24, but I'd like to talk about it. But for the first one, before I talk about Annual Rally, please can we show our appreciation for Blind Space, because that's really fantastic.